Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danae Wolf. I am a financial clarity coach and a profit strategist. I work with my clients as their virtual CFO, helping them to understand their numbers so that they can utilize that data to make operational improvements in their business that is going to help them make more money. My whole goal is to increase your profitability in your business. Now, lately I have been pivoting to focus on all things COVID stimulus relief because I feel that that is the best way for me to bring value right now. So I am starting to sprinkle in some videos on normal entrepreneurial bookkeeping and finance management, but a lot of what we're discussing right now is centered around the COVID relief. So I do want to point out that today is July 30th. Had to look at the date because I never know the date anymore. So what I'm saying is as of today, 4:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So things are changing so rapidly that I always just like to point out when it is that I'm filming because what I say may not be true tomorrow. The other thing I want to point out is I am not a lawyer and I am not your CPA. So please keep in mind that this video is for educational purposes only. It should not be misconstrued as legal advice or tax advice. Please consult with your direct lawyer or CPA for that. But let's dive into what happened this week. So what happened this week is we finally got to see the proposal from the Republicans. So back in May, the Democrats issued their HEROES Act, which was their proposal for the second round of stimulus. And it took about 2 months, but the Republicans finally released theirs, which they are calling the HEALS Act. And they did that this week. So again, when we're talking about our HEROES Act, that came from the Democrats, and our HEALS Act came from the Republicans. So today I want to highlight some of the things that they talked about and where they agreed and where they didn't agree. The proposals are pretty in-depth, but I really just want to focus on things that I feel are going to be most important to entrepreneurs. So first thing to point out when we see the way that the proposals are differing is just to point out the fact that the Democrats are proposing to spend $3 trillion, right? So obviously there's going to be a lot more stuff going on in their plan because they're proposing a lot more money, whereas the Republicans are saying they just want to spend $1 trillion, which is typically, that's a typical theme within the parties, right? The Republicans tend to be more conservative with spending, and Democrats tend to be the opposite. So that's why we're going to see in situations where they differ, typically the Democrats are spending a bit more money. All right, so the first thing to get into is unemployment. I know from speaking with so many entrepreneurs, there is a big concern about what is going to happen to this $600 per week for unemployment. So what we are finding as employers is it is very difficult to get people to come back to work if they are an individual who is making more money on unemployment at the moment. Because of course, with that $600 per week added in from the federal government, it did take a lot of unemployment recipients to making more money on unemployment than they were when they worked. So this is something that business owners have been very stressed about, trying to figure out, how is this going to play out? So I want you guys to kind of think about it like this. What the Democrats are proposing is the maximum, and what the Republicans are proposing is the minimum. Both sides have to kind of negotiate and hash this out, and we'll see where they're going to land. But I would look at it as a high-low scenario, and hopefully we will come in somewhere within the middle. So the Democrats are saying, let's take that $600 per week in federal money and let's extend it to January. That is what they have proposed in the HEROES Act. The Republicans are saying, let's take that down to $200 a week and let's have that run till October 5th, after which time they want to change it so that it is set at a max of 70% for what an individual was making when they were working. So the Republicans just really want to ensure that not only can people not make more on unemployment, but they also want to say, we don't even want them to make the same. We want it to be 70% because this is all in an effort to get people to go back to work, right? Which of course would benefit the employers, the entrepreneurs. All right, so the next thing to dive into is the stimulus. So you guys should remember a couple months ago when all of this first started, we received direct payments from the IRS. These were typically direct deposited right into your bank account. They are now, both parties proposing that they do it again. And they're very close in what they're proposing. So this is something that definitely is going to happen. So the Democrats want to do another $1,200 for adults, which is what it was before, but they want to go ahead and take it up to $1,200 for dependent. Last time it was $500 per dependent. They're also saying that they want to make sure that any dependents over 18 are going to be covered. This is something that was not in the last stimulus, and something that they want to make sure is covered this time. They kept the same exact income limitations, because if you guys remember, based on your income was whether or not you got this stimulus and how much of it you got. So they're going to keep that all the same. If we switch gears and look at the Republicans, they are also saying $1,200 per adult, but they are not increasing the dependents. They want to leave that at $500, but they are saying adult dependents are covered, and they are keeping the income limitations the same. So essentially, the Republicans are giving us the same exact stimulus as what we got last time. But the Democrats are proposing an increase on dependents. So again, let's look at the high-low. You're going to get a minimum of $500 for your dependents, or a maximum of $1,200. So we'll have to see kind of how they come together and negotiate, and where they come, what they decide to do on that one. Okay, another thing that I wanted to point out that they are debating right now, because I just feel like it's important for business owners to be informed on this. So the Republicans want to do a 5-year shield of protection for businesses, medical facilities, and schools. And what they want in that protection is to make sure that you cannot be sued due to COVID. So this is a big concern, as business owners are trying to reopen their doors and navigate, all the different PPE you have to have, and all the different regulations, ensuring customers are 6 feet apart, wearing masks. They just want to make sure, since we do live in a sue-happy nation, just calling a spade, they want to make sure that nobody's going to be at risk for that, and maybe business owners don't feel like they can't open because they're scared to get sued, or schools are scared to open because they're scared they're going to get sued. So it's just a measure that the Republicans want to put in place. It's something that they have said is a non-negotiable, but the Democrats are saying no, they don't want to do that, because they want to make sure that everybody is following procedures and making sure that everyone is safe. So we will have to see how that all plays out. But again, because it does affect businesses, I wanted to make sure to share that with you guys. Another thing to point out is the Democrats have said they want to extend the eviction protection. So in the original bill, people could not be evicted. The Democrats would like to go ahead and extend that. The Republicans have said no. They have not put anything in their proposal about that. So we are going to have to see how that all plays out. Now, the big thing that I think I'm probably hearing the most buzz about in the entrepreneurial community is what is going on with PPP. So based on the HEROES Act, the Democrats' proposal, that came out back in May. We've already seen a lot of changes with PPP. It took it from 8 weeks to 24 weeks. It got rid of that 75-25% split. So we've already had a lot of changes happen to the PPP. Now the Republicans have proposed a round 2 of PPP. So what that means is those of us who received PPP the first time are actually eligible to apply again. But what the Republicans are saying is they are reserving these round 2 PPP loans for businesses who really need it. And how they have outlined that is to say, if you can show your revenue has decreased by 50%, you would be eligible to apply for this round 2 of PPP. They have also proposed a simplified forgiveness. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like, but it does seem that they are strongly considering a blanket forgiveness. Okay, so months ago they came out with the Easy Form, which is a 1-sheeter forgiveness application that I thought was going to be their approach to kind of streamlining this. But the Secretary of the Treasury, Mnuchin, he even said that he wants to see a blanket forgiveness happen. They've used the term, simplified forgiveness. I feel confident saying that I'm fairly certain they are strongly considering a blanket forgiveness, which just means if your loan is under $150,000, you are going to be forgiven. You are not going to have to go through the rigmarole of applying for forgiveness. And, there's several reasons to do this. Number one, the banks really want this, right? This is going to be a lot of work. Think about the millions of applications they would be getting, right, for forgiveness. That's a lot of work that has to be done. And the banks don't really make money on these loans, right? They don't want to have to put that much manpower towards something that really doesn't give them a return on their investment. Not to mention the fact that a lot of business owners, they're going to have a hard time navigating the forgiveness application. It's not the easiest thing to do. So I think that there's a lot of good reason for us to think that this is going to happen. Again, it is a proposal. This is not law. Please do not throw everything out the window and just say, oh, it's going to be blanket forgiven. I can do what I want. No, that's it. Right now, it is not law. And even if it is a blanket forgiveness, you are still going to have to certify that you use the funds correctly, which means if it did come out somehow, some way that you didn't use your PPP correctly, you would be liable for fraud, which I'm sure can be all kinds of scary things happening to you, like possibly fines or jail time. Who knows what they would do. But again, we should at least feel cautiously optimistic about it. It does seem like this is something that will most likely happen. The other thing that they proposed in there was an expansion of how the funds could be spent. So right now, it's very specific that it's rent, utilities, and payroll. They are putting PPE in there now. There was a line about software. Again, we don't want to get too nitty gritty breaking down these proposals because they are proposals. We have no idea what they are going to negotiate and actually decide on and what will actually become law. But I think we should all feel very encouraged that they're strongly talking about allowing people to get a second round of PPP funding. They are strongly talking about having blanket forgiveness on the PPP, and they're strongly considering allowing leeway as to how the funds are spent. These are all things that would be a very big deal for a lot of American businesses. So again, be cautiously optimistic about it. I personally feel very good about it. I will be watching this like a hawk and keeping you guys posted and informed. If you did like this video, I would love if you could like and subscribe below. I am brand spanking new to YouTube. There's like 2 of you subscribed to me. No, there's more, but it feels like 2. There's not a lot happening here. But I'm going to keep at it, keep posting videos and bringing you guys value. But where I do have a lot of traction going on and a lot of good information is on my Facebook group. If you head over to the Profit Factor Facebook group, I would love to chat with you more in there. I'm live in there a lot. I'm constantly answering questions. But if you post a question here on YouTube, I will be sure to answer as well. So again, it is July 30th. So that is the date of today's update. By tomorrow, maybe things could be different. Unemployment is running out this week. Today is Thursday. So hopefully we hear something soon. But I will say, Mnuchin did say they are very far apart right now on negotiations. So it does seem negotiations are not going great, which, we've seen in the past. Both parties are going to use this as a way to get other things they want that don't really have to do with the stimulus. But hopefully they keep the sense of urgency and they get this relief out to Americans who need it soon. And I will be here to deliver the good news and hopefully get you guys informed as soon as possible. Until then, everybody have a great day and we will talk soon.